Let's play some hockey tonight.
Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Welcome to another episode of Gouche Live, brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and, of course, Sports Illustrated. I want to say right off the bat before we get started, congratulations to Team Canada. The women's team were absolutely spectacular. Some say, you know what, Sweden outplayed them. Obviously, at the end of the day, we had one more goal than they did, and it means that Team Canada wins gold. It is unbelievable. So happy that they've done that. Listen, we're just waiting for Todd Warriner. I think there's a couple little hiccups here. He's up north. Or no, he's kind of down south. I don't even know where I've gone to where he's at. And I'm not sure if it's north-south because I don't really know Toronto or the Ontario area outside of Toronto. So I apologize for that. And we're hoping that our friend will get on with us. But before that, I've got my producer, of course. Todd has just emailed in. We're going to get him on. He's having a little technical issue. But first, Jordan.
Hey, Gooch.
Hey, buddy, how are you? Hey,
I'm
listen,
good.
Todd's having a little bit of an issue, so I'm going to let you, if you don't mind, talk to us about a couple of the headlines that are on today. I know Darnell Nurse signed a big one. This arbitration, all this money being sent out is kind of crazy.
Yeah, he signed an 8-year deal with the Oilers. I mean, I think this is something they had to do. Losing Adam Larson this year is obviously going to leave a big hole in the back end. And I think Darnell Nurse, he kind of showed this year that he's ready to take the next step in his play. And, you know, I don't have the numbers pulled up right now, but, you know, Darnell Nurse, I think he's one of those guys who's just going to continue to get better over the next few years. He's a big guy. He's physical. He's good with the puck. He's a good skater. So there's a lot to like about his game. But, you know, just more on the Oilers. I mean, they've done a really good job this offseason. Yes, losing Larson's big, but I'm sorry, Gooch has distracted me a little bit, but you're muted, Gooch.
Having a couple of little technical issues, trying to get Todd on. As I was hearing you talk, you've said that the Oilers have done a great job with obviously losing Adam Larson. Continue on with that, because I think there's a lot of people that are still questioning what they're going to do in goaltenders.
Yeah, just because, you know, the big story was that they were in on Darcy Kemper. And obviously he signed with he traded to the Colorado Avalanche, but I just don't know what they're going to do with the back end. Mike Smith, I do like Mike Smith. He's a very serviceable number one, but I do think they need another guy to split some time with him. He's getting a little older now. But I think with Mike Smith, one thing that gets overlooked a little bit is just how good he is with the puck and how much easier that makes life for the defenseman on his team. You know, starting that breakout a little sooner, maybe even skipping the pass up to their blue line on a breakout. There's a lot of things that just aren't really noticed in Mike Smith's game that I just continue to like about him. And again, another guy who's 6'5", 6'6". So, you know, he's a good guy, and he'll probably finish his career there. At least I like to think so.
Well, you know, some of the things that are really important to understand is that, you know, we've always talked about good in the dressing room and, you know, great guys. I think adding with the pieces that they've done in Edmonton is certainly going to help that team mature, obviously. But one of the things that I was reading the other day is about how bad teammates can disrupt the dressing room. You saw that obviously in New York. So I'm really wanting to know the team chemistry. Is that? I know I played on teams. I know we got Todd Warriner joining us here in a few minutes. We apologize for a little bit of a technical issue that we had, but how important is team chemistry when you're looking at, especially NHL? These guys are paid to play. They get good money to play. So when we talk about team chemistry, how important is it?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Like I played on my last junior team, the Almer Spitfires. We had a great team, and you know, there's a couple of guys in the locker room that didn't get along, or there were a couple of guys who said some little things that I wouldn't totally agree with, and we were the worst team in the division. And they just came off a year where they were one of the division leaders. They had a couple of top scorers, and you know, it's just totally fell apart once a couple of the older guys aged out.
Well, and that happens, of course. We're very blessed to have Todd Warriner joining us in a second. Here, you're watching Gooch Live right here on sports, obviously the hockey news, and of course Sports Illustrated. Just before I let you go and we bring Todd up, obviously, are there any other things in the NHL that are surprising? I know we're going to talk a little bit about all the money that's spent, what's going on with the cap. Maybe we can leave that to after Todd leaves us. I know he's up there very busy in a beautiful sunny day, so having him on is fantastic at the last minute. Anything that piques your interest?
Just one thing with the Islanders, they locked up Adam Pelech, who top 4 D-man for them on an 8-year deal around $5.7 million. I think it's a great deal. I mean, I think he's just going to keep growing as we saw in the playoffs this year. He made, I think it was him who actually made the diving glove save on the goal line for the Islanders. So he's a great player, big body, good with the puck, a good skater. So this is a great pickup for the Islanders, and exactly what they needed to do.
When he did that, I said, kick save and a beauty. And then I realized it was actually his glove that did it. So listen, a lot of people are piping in, obviously, on the Nurse. We've got our friend Lucky coming in. Nurse at $74 million. Ouch. Nurse would look good in a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey. Nurse with quite the contract. Yikes. So a lot of people don't maybe agree with that. And you know what? Of course, we can ask Todd Warriner all the way from... Look at that. You're in the pool area. How you doing, Todd? Sorry about the little bit of technical issues that we had there, but we've got you on. It's a beautiful sunny day. Usually you'd be on the golf course or you're in a rink. Thank you for joining us on Gooch Live, brought to you by the good people of Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And he's gone dark on us. That's Todd Warriner, always going dark. Do we hear you? We hear you.
Where are you? You got me?
Todd Warriner.
Sorry, I'm here. Hey, buddy. Good to be
you
with
can't
you.
have a Gooch Live. You can't have a Gooch Live without a little bit of technical issues. Thank you for joining us, bud. Do you see us?
Hey. Yeah, I got you guys. Yep. Good to be here.
Okay. Fantastic. Hey, right off the bat, I'm going to throw you in the hot seat. Obviously, I'm going to, give some of your accolades in a few minutes. But now that we're getting all these pipe in on the Darnell Nurse contract, I don't know if you saw it, but again, a big number. There's a lot of money being paid for defensemen right at this moment. $74 million. My goodness. Your thoughts on all this money that's being floating around? Obviously, when you played in the NHL, you would have loved to have those type of dollars. I'd love to hear. I know you had just eliminate the 7, and I think you had the 4, didn't you?
No. Hey, listen. It wouldn't have mattered what time period I was playing at Gooch. I wouldn't be rolling in those kind of dollars. You know that. So, but listen, I love Darnell Nurse. Was it just over $9 million a year for Darnell Nurse? Is that right? I forget. I saw it earlier today. I didn't do the year. I don't know the term, whatever, but. Brings a lot to that team and adds an element they need, right? Like he's, not just a great skater and a puck mover and a guy that can do the power play and everything else now. He's a shutdown guy. He's physical. He's tough. He's, the kind of defenseman that every team needs to win, right? And to kind of, a guy that can play 30 minutes a game and still, match up with all the team's best players. I think his upside is really big moving forward. And going back to the Pelech deal, I mean, we saw what he does. Like he's your consummate shutdown defenseman, and that's been sort of the theme to this point with some of the signings. A lot of depth defensemen with size that have been getting paid, and it's a copycat league, Gooch. Like teams that win, they do it a certain way, and everybody goes, "Oh, geez, we got to do the same thing, right?" So here we are with all these guys, making pretty good money, some of them depth defensemen, and I love it. Like I want the players to make their money and do their thing, max out their potential and resources, and when they're my age, they can relax,
Well, listen, I was on the golf course with you a few weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, that 2 iron at probably about 260 yards, hockey's done you well, kid. You're a fantastic athlete. Hey, listen, I want to do a shout out to Sam Macbeth. I know you're having a little bit of health issues, but we're thinking of you and we're wishing you the best. Now, we're talking these numbers, and everybody's getting really upset. 74 million for 9 years. You're absolutely, or sorry, around 9 million. You're absolutely correct. But look at this one. Lucky's reminding us, Kevin Durant, 198 million for 4 years, and everybody's throwing up in arms when a guy signs for. I don't think anybody this year. And Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong. I do not believe in any of this money that's been thrown around. It's almost 900 million. I think it was 988 million given out over the last couple of weeks. I don't think anybody hit the 10 million mark.
Nobody, right?
Jordan will do a little bit of investigation for us there. I'd be surprised. Yeah, I don't believe so either. So now you get a basketball player that goes out and signs for, I can't even do the math. So 198 divided by 4 is around, is that 50 million a year?
Just under 50 a year. That's right. No, you can't even compare. I mean, it's
holy Jesus. Now listen, we haven't even talked about bench players make about 5 million a year right now. Listen, let's talk about you. Obviously, you had a very good career in the NHL. But what's most important is after your NHL career, you got to travel a little bit. That's where I got to meet you over there. You were drafted 4th overall, 1992. So people can do the math and figure out how old you are. But think about this for a second. You were drafted by the Quebec Nordiques. Talk to us about that first time, obviously walking in and hearing your name and getting being drafted, because that's unbelievable.
Oh man, that's a good story, Gooch. I don't know how much time you have, but the draft my year was in Montreal at the old Forum, right? So, and my agent at the time was Don Meehan, and Don Newport Sports Management. Don was a McGill student in law, so he's excited to take me back to Montreal and for me to see the city and everything else. We stopped to buy a suit, so I had a proper draft day suit, and so. It's a long story, but in the time leading up to that, I did Tampa, and that was the year Tampa Bay was going to come into the league. Phil Esposito was running the team, and they were gonna pick 1st overall. So I'd been to Tampa, and I talked to Phil and Tony, and I was sort of assured that I would be their guy. They were going to take me 1st overall. So if you imagine, I was going to be the 1st pick overall. So for about a month leading up to that, late June draft, I thought that I was going to be the 1st pick in the draft. So I had to keep it under wraps. My immediate family knew. And so it's literally the Friday. Donnie, Meehan, and I drive in his car down to Montreal. We get a room at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning are having their meetings on the Friday. And because it's the first year of their program, they want to let their scouts and hockey people decide on the 1st pick. And so in that meeting on the Friday before the Saturday draft, everything happened on one day at that time. The staff for the Lightning decided to pick Roman Hamrlik, and that turned out to be a really good pick, obviously. So Donnie calls me. He gets a call from Phil. And Phil says, "Donnie, we're not taking your guy. I thought you should know." So Donnie calls me to his room and he says, "Hey, listen, Tampa's not going to take you." So, you got to understand, for a month leading up to that point, I think I'm going to Tampa. So I'm all set. I'm pretty relaxed going into the draft. So now things change immediately. So I'm like, oh, wow. So I'm like, well, what do you think will happen now, right? I asked Donnie, and he says, well, I don't know what you're going to do. We might be able to get you to Toronto at 6. And I'm like, Toronto at 6? Geez, like, that'd be awesome, but that's a huge, slide in the draft. That's something I'm going to have to answer for, Gooch, right? So yeah, I'll never forget it. I'm sitting on the draft floor. I'm about 6 rows up in the old Forum. I got Donnie and the Newport staff to my right. I got my mom and dad, my sister to my left. And we literally have no idea how it's going to play out at this point. So Hamrlik goes to Tampa. Yashin goes to Ottawa. San Jose takes Mike Rathje. So Quebec's up. They're on the clock, right? So as they're getting up to make their selection, Gooch, I see Pierre Pagé, Pierre Gauthier,
oh, yeah.
great people. But you got to understand the climate of the Nordique at this time through my agent's eyes, right? Through my agent's eyes, which you can imagine. So he's thinking dollars, he's thinking Quebec tax, he's thinking the state of the franchise, he's thinking Marcelo Bou, all the things that Eric Lindros, all the things that happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so they stand up, they got the jersey underneath their arm, and they look over at Donnie and kind of give Donnie the nod, like, we're taking your guy. And Donnie Meehan, one of the most polite, well-spoken individuals you'll ever meet, he goes, "Oh shit, Quebec's going to take you."
Oh no, Jesus!
So I'm sitting right beside him, Gooch. I'm on the floor, and Donnie Meehan says this to me, and I'm like, oh my god. So they pick me, stand up, shake hands, hug everybody, go down. So now you got to remember, 91, the year before, Lindros didn't want to go there. Tucked the jersey under his arm, waved, said, "See you later," walked off the stage, right?
Yeah, crazy.
So I go up, this is, I'm just processing this whole thing. My agent says this to me, and I'm thinking, oh man, this kid, this is probably isn't ideal. He was probably trying to get me to Toronto, and being a Toronto guy, Donnie, all the people I knew on the Leaf, organization. Anyway, so I walk up on stage. I'm thrilled to be picked regardless. I don't know all the semantics and the boardroom stuff that would come later. Put the jersey on. Now you got to understand, the year before, Eric didn't put the jersey on, and I'm in Francophone Canada. Yeah, it's Montreal, and they're huge rivals with the Quebec Nordique at the time. But I get a standing ovation from the Forum crowd just for putting the jersey on.
Yeah,
real
crazy
true story. So it dawns on me while I'm doing that, and I'm thinking, well, why are they cheering for me so much? And I'm like, and then they're like, it's the sweater. I'm like, oh, so I wave, thank you, whatever, while I'm on stage. And that was the beginning of it for me when I got picked by the Nordique. But that's a long story, but that's a true story. I thought I was going first overall, and then it got changed just like.
Well, and what's crazy? At the end of the day, you ended up playing in Tampa Bay and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it all worked, which is really kind of crazy. Hey, listen, I have to ask you, obviously, you played over 450 games in National Hockey League, 65 goals, 89 assists, 154 points. Those are very respectable numbers. You mentioned yourself, gosh, you would not make you would be a very valuable asset to any team. The way you played, I got a chance to see you play in Hanover. We actually met in Hanover. I don't know if you remember that. Playing for the Hanover Scorpions. And then I got to see you play in Cologne. You were just a fan favorite everywhere you went. And even though you weren't picked first overall, Tampa Bay realized they made a mistake, had to get you back, because there's probably, I would say arguably, there's only a handful of people in the game that are as nice as you, and that's a true story, because I've been able to hang with you. So you're more than just a hockey player. You're a fantastic ambassador. I need to ask you this question, though. Today we saw the women's win a gold medal at the Olympics, and I kind of got goosebumps. Yes, absolutely, well-deserved. Hockey is kind of overtaken soccer in this country, of course. It's always been the number one sport, but even over the years, there's been a waning part to the women's game in soccer, they've been saying. You won a silver medal, if I'm not mistaken, in Lillehammer. Is that true?
That's right, yeah.
And it was expected you guys to win gold. So guys were a little bit disappointed, were they not?
Well, I mean, that's not actually. I could get into that story too if you want, Gucci. Our team at that time wasn't expected to medal. To be fair, so if you want me to tell it, our team through the fall of that in particular, so for the fall of '93, had really struggled. So we played the American Olympic team all over North America. We played them, I think, 10 times in places like, New York and Toronto and Chicago and Colorado, Calgary, to packed houses, leading up to the Olympics. So it was a big event to get to play them that much, but they beat us every time. I remember thinking, we played the Americans, I believe, 10 times, and 2 of them went to overtime. We lost every one, and 1 went to a shootout, I believe. So we're going in the Olympics in '94, February, just months after playing all these sort of games against the American teams, and we're picked out of the medal. They were picked, I think, to finish 5th, and we were 9th or something like that, as I remember it. I could be wrong about that, but we weren't picked in medal. So it's just, why that's so special is because, like the girls in some respects, I suspect the Canadians maybe weren't thought of as a medal contender, our Canadian girls soccer team, and here they are. They get on a roll. They beat the Americans, who've been their nemesis
The
for
Brazil,
years.
they beat Brazil.
Beat Brazil, who's a soccer superpower, and they got on a roll. And they had a lot of things happen. Like you watched Christine Sinclair defer to the young girl from London to take the penalty kick. Like that, what does that do for a young player on a team watching a veteran girl like that give her that vote of confidence? Like, so our particular story is a good one because after Christmas, we started to play a little better, and we finalized our team. Which is the other thing is that that national team at that time was like we would have guys coming in on 3-game stints or 10-game stints or 25-game stints to try out. So it was completely in flux all year long, trying to earn your spot on this roster. So finally, we know we're on the team. It's January. We go into the Globen tournament, which is the tournament in Stockholm, Sweden, and we played really well, went to the finals. So then we're coming into the tournament on a bit of a roll. We're feeling pretty good. Even though we're picked to finish 9th, we think we can win. So that's how quick it turned around for us, Gooch. So when I watched that today from the girls, like I don't know what they were predictions were for this team.
They were underdogs. They were absolute underdogs.
Yeah, 4th to 7th probably to finish somewhere in there. Who knows? But here they are. They get on a roll. They beat the right teams, and they get into the finals. And they've already been to a shootout. The goalkeeper for Canada is as confident as a person as I've ever watched in a shootout. I could not believe her. The way she was smiling and carrying it on in front of this kind of pressure was incredible.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And so I felt like some comparables there. I'm like, wow, look at this happening. It says we're going to a shootout against Sweden. Same thing we did. And obviously the result was much better for them. But I look at it like our team was not picked to finish in the medals. We played well at the right time, and then that's why we're so close today as a group. The Todd Warriner of the world and Adrian Brian Savage, Paul Korea, all those players on our team. We're still that close now because we really were a team that wasn't supposed to play that well and really played good for a stretch of time and were able to come home with a medal. And when you look back at that, at this point in your life or in your career of things that happened, there was a bunch of guys who had NHL careers, but there was a bunch who didn't. And so it means a lot to them. And so when I'm around those players now and those guys, when we get together, it's always a great memory, even though we lost the final game.
Yeah, the reason why I brought that up is that Canada in hockey is always expected to win. That's, gold medals are what we are produced to give. And, in that team, you had pretty good goaltender, Corey Hirsch, who played outstanding. And, you just had a lot of key players that played their best hockey when you needed to play it. And I ask you that question because the girls, I kept hearing all the time, Sweden's a much better team. And even though during the game, I only saw parts of it, I watched the whole overtime or the last overtime, and then of course the penalty kickout shootout. They weren't expected to be there, but they beat a team that everybody thought was going to beat them. And you've been on teams like that. And Todd, you're known for a couple of great things that people, I'm almost getting into a trivia question here, but a lot of people may not know it, and you know where I'm going with this one. Battle of the Blades, you were outstanding. I didn't know you could do all those pirouettes that you showed us. You were fantastic in there. And then I got to see you play in the Deutschland Cup. And a lot of people may not know what that is, but it's a tournament that's held in Germany on their break. And you won it with Team Canada in 2005. But you're also known for something that's amazing for Toronto Maple Leafs fans. And I'm going to let you tell us what it is.
Well, I think it's because I scored the first goal at the Air Canada Center. Yeah, and I tell this story, Gooch, because these sort of things aren't supposed to happen to players like us, like fourth line guys. So it was in February of '99. We left the Maple Leaf Gardens, and then we moved into the Air Canada Center, now Scotiabank Arena. And it was my 7th goal of the season in February. So that was the kind of season I was having. But it was a nice thing to happen to a player like me. I was playing 3rd, 4th line minutes in and out of the lineup. And so, those sort of things are normally suited for the Matt Sundins of the world or players like that. But it was a nice thing to happen to me. And the Hall of Fame took my stick, took the puck from the first goal, and it's still there today. So it's a nice story to share with my own kids.
Well, obviously now, you've had a great OHL career. You played the AHL. You played. Hey. Oh, I heard some feedback there. You've had a great NHL career. Obviously, you were in the OHL. You played for Team Canada. You've done it basically all. You played the AHL here for the St. John's Maple Leafs. So hockey has allowed you to travel. So once your career was done in the National Hockey League, you got a chance to go over to Germany. And I know now that you're really teaching it, and I think you also played, if I'm not mistaken, what other country did you play in?
Well, I first went to Finland.
Okay.
Yeah, for Finland and Switzerland as well as Germany. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jokerit, one of those famous organizations, and now you're teaching kids, to play the game. What can you say to a kid? Because I've seen it a lot. Everybody's pushing NHL. If you don't make it to the NHL, it's bust. So a guy like me never made it to the NHL, but I got lucky to go play, whether it's first, second, third, or division in Germany. I got to travel. Talk to us about that not specifically about the hockey, but the ability of what going to Germany and these other countries, obviously being in Finland and Switzerland, it opens your mind. So kids can't just focus on making the NHL, because there's a lot more than just NHL when it comes to playing in pro.
Absolutely. I think if I could tie it to my story, I mean, having played on the national team that particular year, Gooch, we played in the Deutschland Cup in '93. So I'm playing against, lots of the old timers from Europe that you would know, lots of good players. And we went to the Izvestia tournament, the old Russian tournament at Luzhniki Arena in my particular time, also '93, right before the new year. And played in the Globen in Stockholm. So, just that experience of being on the national team and getting to travel around Europe. We played in Italy, Austria. We played club teams from all over in our travels, so we really didn't have a home center. We trained out of Calgary, Father David Bauer Arena at the time with the national program. But we'd go to Europe, play the Deutschland, then we'd stay for a couple of weeks and play club teams. We did it again at Christmas through the Izvestia and then again at the Globen. So that was really our schedule, was always on the road. But you're on the bus and you're flying and doing whatever, but you're also experiencing countries and you're getting a feel of, the kind of hockey that's played in Sweden or the kind of hockey that's played in Eastern Europe or Russia. So I think it gave me kind of a good perspective. And when it became time that I didn't have a deal in the NHL, I kind of was thinking about Europe for quite a little while. And so my agent knew that, and we had a chance to go to Russia, a chance to go to Sweden, and we ultimately settled on Finland. When I first went, had such a good experience living in Helsinki and playing for Jokerit. What a great program. And it was just a knee injury that kept me from going back there. I would maybe have stayed. I liked it that much. My wife and I and my new daughter at the time, Ava, who's now off to college, by the way. So we liked it that much, and we had a familiarity with being there. So I could tell you a story like when I was a Bantam, Gooch, and our team went to Switzerland and played a tour. So over Christmas holidays as a 13-year-old, we took our Bantam team from my hometown and we went and played a tour across Switzerland. So I knew my way around Switzerland a little bit. I knew Scandinavia and Russia through the national program and parts of Europe, Italy, Austria. So I had a good understanding of where to go and who to call about getting a job. And then that morphed into, 6 more years in Europe. So you're right. I think, I have peer parents and kids, pros, juniors come to me all the time and ask, tell me your story. Like, what would your advice be? And, you kind of have to know their situation, but there is more and more places to play and more money to be made. And that's the thing for a lot of these guys is, they get to a certain point in their career, if things have stalled and they're in the minors or they're playing in the East Coast League or they're wherever there is, there's opportunities in Europe, some great pro places to play, really well-run organizations and, great fans in the hockey markets it's a different world altogether. And so until you see it, you don't really know what's out there. So I think a lot of players and the agents now are much more aware of what happens in Europe and where the good places are and who to connect players to get there. Yeah. So I would say every player at some point in their career, whether they're 24 and stuck in the minors or they're 35 and done their NHL career, should go and try it for sure.
100%. And here, Sam, Beth is joining us, saying, for me, it has always been able to play the sport that I love, no matter at what level. And of course, traveling was the bonus. And I agree with that 100%. When my career was done playing junior and then with the Cash League, which was the senior league for the Allen Cup, I thought it was done too. And at 27, I got a chance to play just outside of Eschweiler, in a town called Eschweiler, just out of Cologne. I'll tell you what, it's the best thing I did, even though I thought maybe my career was over. I got another 16 years and I got a chance to meet you out there. Hey, listen, I want to change gears a little bit here. Now that, all the accolades for your playing career are done and you've won a silver medal and you played in the National Hockey League, you've had a very good career as a player. You've changed a little bit now, of course. You still play a lot of hockey with, the alumni celebrity tournaments. You and I actually had a chance to play in Belarus, which will never happen again, but we had a chance to play, and we don't have enough time to talk about those crazy stories with Lukashenko. I wanted to go to you now that you're advising kids how to become better players, and not just better players. You're building the person, and I love that about you. That you just don't focus on being a good hockey player. You are saying you have to be a good person as well as a good hockey player. The last 18 months has been very difficult on all of us. I'd like to hear from you, your perspective on the 18 months that these young boys and girls that you've been working with have obviously struggled. They've had these ups and downs, the ebb and flows, the pivots, the changing, no school, no friends. And now all of a sudden, it seems that we're opening up and you can go to the rink now. Is it going to be easy for them just to run to the rink, turn the light switch on and get right into it like nothing happened? Or you as a coach or as an advisor, are you going to have to talk to them differently?
Well, I'll say this, again, given what's happened in the last 18 months, I think, in terms of my, advice or guidance to kids, there's one thing that has been seriously lacking, in my opinion, Gooch, is leadership, right? Leadership and we've seen it at all levels of government, sport, whatever. There's been lots of things happen. We don't need to get right into that, but leadership matters. Doesn't matter whether you're running a business, you're running a hockey team, or you're doing skill development with 12-year-olds. You need to have, you need to give them good advice, sound advice. So when I'm on the ice, for example, now, and I've been on with, groups of pros, groups of juniors, 11-year-old girls, I say, hey, listen, the fact that we even get to be on the ice during this pandemic, how many of your friends, how many of your, schoolmates would love to be here today, getting some physical activity, getting to hang out with their friends, getting to do this, sort of specialized ice time. And I said it to my college team at the University of Windsor Lancers. I said it to pros. I said it to agent skates, junior players, all the same thing. Don't waste each other's time. There's 1,000 kids in this country and other countries who'd love to be you today. So don't waste each other's time. Get the most out of this. We don't know when things are going to open up. That was the conversation in the fall. We don't know when player X is going back to OHL or player B is going back to the American League or NHL. We don't know when that's happening. But in the interim, we could be making the most of our time here on the ice. So let's do that. So I think, in terms of if I could tie it back to my team, our Windsor Lancer team, we had a meeting last week, 10 days ago, about training camp. How are we going to run training camp? Every coach does it. Well, normally you have, you start on Monday and you practice till Friday or just play scrimmages, and then you have your sort of inter squad game with fans like every team does, and then you sort of pick your team. Well, that's a kind of a 6-day period to pick a team that hasn't played in 18 months. And this is sort of, basically pro hockey. It's an OUA school, and the guys have all played, at the very least, Tier 2 Junior A. So they're all coming in, they're good players. It's a big group of guys. But our conversation was are we gonna after 18 months away from hockey, are we gonna pick a team and expect them to be on their toes and ready in 5 days? I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's really fair. We're not playing a regular season game or even a regular season game till November or an exhibition game till the middle of October. We're starting in the middle of September, so let's give them time. Let's give them a chance to get their feet under them and get back. And at least when we do pick our team 2 or 3 weeks out, we'll have had a competitive camp real competitive camp, and the guys will feel like they've been able to showcase what they can do. And if they get let go or if they make it, at least they've given the best version of themselves in that time. So that's sort of the conversation we've had with our own team. But, in terms of, the player development, the conversation with kids in the youth level is, how lucky you are to be back on the ice.
Yes.
Recognize that it is a privilege to be on a team and make the best of it when you do get back. And don't forget this stretch when you haven't been able to do sports, school sports, hockey, basketball, whatever it may be. When that does open up again, hopefully it gives you a better appreciation for what you have, right?
Yep. So we're so blessed to have Todd Warriner on with us today. Gooch Live brought to you by the good people of the Hockey News and, of course, Sports Illustrated. So, Todd, I know you're involved with a thing called the Hockey Factory right now. Walk us through that as we I know you're very busy, so as we let you go, tell us a little bit about Todd Warriner right now and the great things that you're doing, and we compliment you for all the great things you're doing to help build hockey players of the future. Talk to us about that.
Well, I love to coach, Gooch. I mean, we can laugh about this because some of the coaches I played for, I'm not sure they thought I'd be a good coach, right? Some of the coaches I played for, right? So since I've retired, I had my own facility. I had my own place, and I trained, and I did camps, and I worked with kids, mostly in the youth level, but some juniors and some pros as well. And so my latest thing is Hockey Factory, and that's a place in Toronto at Vic Park. It's the old Vic Park Arena double pad. I know you were there last week. And the boss is a guy named John York. He has an idea to franchise sort of an all-in-one and all-inclusive hockey training center, off-ice, nutrition, all the things in one building, and so and franchise the idea across Canada. So John York, the boss, has a marketing company called Rain, and so he has a son that plays goal in the Marlies organization. So my friend Mark, who's a family friend, is the guy that's sort of been tasked with doing all the scheduling and recruiting within organizations within the GTHL to start, and then branching out from there. So he's put me to work down there, and I feel like, as a coach, at the OU level, my strength as a coach is really in the player development part of it and skill development part of it. So I mean, the conversations like we've had with players at all levels, but the on ice part of it, breaking down the skills, whether it's skating or puck skills or just in-game sort of scenarios, awareness is where I really hang my hat in terms of coaching. So these guys put me to work. I've worked with, pros to major junior players all the way down to, learn to skate. So I'm doing all kinds of things in there right now. And so they're trying to get this model sort of franchise idea off the ground. And it's been really popular through the spring and now. And hoping to branch out into the winter as well with lots of the programs and different organizations booking ice through them in the winter months from the GTHL. So it's been fun to get back on the ice. It's been fun to do anything physical, right, Gooch? Like, just.
Well, we got to golf. We got the golf the other week.
Yeah, getting golf we got to golf a lot last summer too. That was great. That was the one thing you could really do. But in the last sort of few months, I've been able to get down to Toronto at the Hockey Factory and work with kids, and so kind of get my feet wet again, and looking forward to the fall getting back on the ice with the Lancers too.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're not only a great hockey player, a great ambassador, you're also an actor, because I saw you at the Battle of Blades. You were fantastic. Hey, listen, I want to wrap it up. I will see you August 26th. Of course, we're going to be hitting a golf ball together. Steve Ludsig's golf tournament. Really excited. Thank you for joining us with that. He's just a wonderful guy. Big thumbs up to Ludsy. Keep battling. He's been going through some rough times, so we'll be thinking of him. And I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. I'm going to work on my 5-iron because I never get the 2-iron to go 250 yards. I may as well try, see if I can at least hit my 5-iron straight. All right, Todd Warriner, thank you for joining us.
Okay, buddy. Good to chat with you. Take care. See you soon.
Wow, that was fantastic. Hey, listen, Jordan's going to come to wrap it up. I wanted to ask Jordan a question. There was a comment up here that Robert Wine said, and just before you give us a little bit of last touches on the NHL, I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was really important. I didn't want to ask Todd on it, but I think that when he was sharing all his stories about it, playing in the NHL, and we hear this a lot, winning a silver medal, you only heard positive things from them. There are some people out there that thinking they lost the gold. And I know people say that because when you play for a bronze medal, you actually win the bronze medal, right? Because if you don't win it, you don't win a medal. But I'll tell you what, if you're exactly what he said, Canada, you were expected to win gold. That's just the way it is. But that team did not go in there with a team that should have won it, and they did win a silver medal because they weren't even supposed to medal in the first time. I find that a very interesting comment from Robert Wine. Your thoughts on what's going on over the last couple of days for the Olympics? I know you and I were I was really thinking, you know what, they aren't going to, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And look at how great they've been.
Yeah, and it's kind of been a nice break, honestly. Like it's always kind of that pause in major sports where we talk about other things other than hockey, where we're watching things that aren't like hockey, basketball, football. It's a big change up, and it's nice that it comes every 4 years. So I feel like if we were doing this every year, it'd probably get a little tired out.
Right,
but. It's always fun to watch.
Well, you and I watched the 50-kilometer fast walk. We actually watched, and our guy came in. He won a bronze years ago. I think it was in Rio, where he elbowed somebody or somebody tripped and he was disqualified. He finally got back on his feet and walked. They look like ducks, for God's sakes. All right, wrap us up with anything going on in the NHL that we missed.
Just one thing. Frank Saravalli posted a pretty interesting report the other day, kind of talking about the NHL salary cap situation. Right now, the NHL is still paying off its last little bit of escrow. That's a whole thing in itself that I don't fully understand either.
No, I don't either.
So, I'll look into that a little bit more. But for the next, Frank Saravalli said the next 4 or 5 seasons, the salary cap is going to increase by $1 million each of those years. So by 25, 26, when that's done, it'll be around 84 million, 85 million. My math's probably completely wrong.
Well, around 87. It's 5 years, because I think they're sitting around 82, isn't it, right now? So it'll be 87-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then as soon as that escrow is done, the NHL salary cap is going to skyrocket. That's why. You're seeing a lot of these long-term deals, which aren't really going to benefit the player, because when that salary cap increases, all player contracts are going to increase as well. People are going to be signing for more money. So you see guys like McDavid and Panarin who are locked up for a long time, over $10 million, when in probably 5-6 years, those contracts are going to be, they won't be as regarded as highly paid as they are now.
Well, it's absolutely crazy when you think about even at 82 million or 81.5 million, a guy like Durant signs for 50 million. One guy signs for 50 million. The money is just absolutely insane. And we will follow up on that, because I've never really understood the whole escrow. I know it's a tax to help, obviously be that factor to help the owners not lose money. It's just a crazy thing. So I promise you all, we will do a little bit of homework, and maybe we can get somebody on that's a specialist to kind of break it down for us, because it is complicated, and you have to be cap savvy, as we've seen what Tampa Bay has done. So that's a show all in itself. Hey, listen, Jordan, can't thank you enough for all that you do. You got great stats up there keeping us informed. But the one that was really good is, because we were talking about, did anybody make the 10 million a year? And you popped up and you found the biggest contract.
Yeah, I did a quick look. I could have looked in deeper, but just off the surface, the first one I found was Landeskog, 7 mil for 8 years, $56 million total. That was the biggest contract signed this summer. Compare that to a bench player in the NBA.
The one thing, I think the one player, and we'll do this, I think the one player, I want to say hello. Hello, Pascal aus Greyfrat. Super dass du bist dabei. Hey, listen, what's really cool is when you think about it, obviously, with the way the salary caps have gone, you've got players, I think Alex Ovechkin this year, I think he signed a contract that's probably more than that. I think it was enough to put him fourth highest on the Toronto Maple Leafs behind who would they be? Matthews, Marner, and I think John Tavares and Ovechkin would be fourth. So it is just crazy the money that's out there. Hey, Jordan, thank you, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow on the Rosen Report. We're doing the roundtable at 12 o'clock. Do not forget, Scott Taylor will be here. And as I promised you, we will get a little bit of information. Jordan's going to do it. We're going to talk a little bit of escrow tomorrow because we're going to find out. We'll ask. I'm sure that Scott Taylor will have a little bit of information. I do want to understand that so we can bring that to you. Hey, listen, you've been watching Gouche Live right here. I want to thank you for taking some time out. I want to say hello, obviously, to Barry Shelley. Pascal, thank you for coming. And, of course, to you, Sam. Please hang in there, get better. We look forward to having you at some of our events very soon. You've been watching Gouche Live. I'm Kerry Goulet, better known as the Gooch. You've been watching it on Sports Illustrated and, of course, those good people at the Hockey News.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as the Gooch, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.